Welcome to the College Admissions Collaborative, highlighting engineering and technology virtual college fair. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Before we get started with our presentation, just a few quick housekeeping items. The first is that attendees are welcome and encouraged to ask questions to our panelists at any time utilizing the Q&A feature. Also, just a reminder that your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists will not be able to see or hear you. There are additional sessions tomorrow, so please do sign up for those if you haven't already done so. And about 1 week from today, a recording of this session will be available on that same registration website. Without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our panelists, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute.
Hello, thank you so very much, Christopher, and welcome everyone this evening. My name is Lauren Souter. I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Admissions here at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, coming to you from home this evening. I'll share my presentation here right now and we'll get started. We'll be here for another 45 minutes or so, and I just really appreciate your time tonight. We'll be learning all about Rensselaer, and maybe the first thing you learned tonight was how to pronounce our name. We are located here in Troy, New York. Where's Troy? Some people ask that. We are nestled about 2.5 hours from New York City. We are 2 hours from the Green Mountains of Vermont, about 3-hour drive to Boston, and 4 hours to my hometown of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But Troy is a city of 50,000 people. Campus is alive. Spring is coming. You can see some of those sunny pictures here, but just to familiarize yourself with where we're located on the map here, we're kind of in the middle of everything if you haven't noticed. You are coming from all over here, so if you aren't familiar with the Northeast, all you have to do is hop in your car and explore everything that New England and the upper Northeast has to offer. We are actually about 3 hours from Montreal as well, so as soon as they're opening those borders, as soon as we can kind of overcome COVID a bit more, I know that I'll be going up to Canada. By train, it's about 2.5 hours on the Amtrak to get to the city. You can also go to Albany International Airport and kind of hop on a plane. The major ports kind of coming out of Albany are Minneapolis, Minnesota, as well as Atlanta, Georgia. So lots of ways to get around across state lines, but let's talk a little locally. Troy as a city is about 50,000 people. Back in the early to mid 1800s, Troy was the fourth wealthiest city here in New England. In the Northeast. We're right along the Hudson River, so there are so many great ways to kind of import and export. And people back then really thought that, we really needed to build the infrastructure here for Rensselaer. So I want to just familiarize you with our school as well. We're broken down into 5 different schools at Rensselaer. The first being our engineering school. You probably know us for engineering and science, and we'll dive into our majors and all 5 schools throughout the presentation. But just to give you a sense, we are a campus of 6,200 undergraduate students. We have 1,200 graduate students, so we collectively are just shy of 8,000 people here on campus, living, learning all together. So we're really proud of our roots. Stephen von Rensselaer actually founded Rensselaer, of course, with a colleague named Amos Eaton. They thought that math and science really should be applied to the common purposes of life. And they really, back in the early 1800s, did a good job of actually educating farmers in this area. The first engineering degree to come out of Rensselaer was a civil engineering degree. It was the only kind of engineering back in the early 1800s. So we're really proud to say that we were one of the oldest technological institutions back then as well. Troy as a city actually nearly burned down about 4 different times back then. So I like to say we're very resilient. Our president, Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson, has been with us for over 20 years now. She was appointed to the New York Forward reopening board last spring when COVID kind of came onto the scene. So I like to say we're in very good hands with Dr. Jackson leading our institution. But to just break us down a little bit more, that 6,200 undergraduate population, about 55% of those students are within our School of Engineering, about 30% of students are within the School of Science, and 5% each with our Architecture School, the Lally School of Management, which is our business school, as well as Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. We oftentimes abbreviate Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences as HAAS. So you'll hear me say that throughout the presentation as well. But we really educate learners here at Rensselaer in an interdisciplinary fashion. So I like to say we're 5 schools with very low walls here at Rensselaer. Even if you're thinking, I want to go into engineering and science, I'm not really sure exactly what major I want to do, that's completely fine. We are a STEM school, so if you're, thinking about STEM, you're in a great place to kind of start learning. But we'll just dive into our 5 schools here so everyone can kind of learn about us. First up is the School of Architecture. So we have 2 different majors within architecture. The Bachelor of Architecture, which is a 5-year pre-professional program. This prepares you to sit for your architecture licensure upon graduation. Now this BArch really focuses on the design of buildings. So if you're, want to be an architect and want to sit for that licensure, this is the path for you. We also offer a BS in Building Sciences, which is a 4-year degree, which focuses on the physical build of buildings, more of those building materials and just the physical plant. For all of you juniors out there, freshmen, sophomore, juniors who are really thinking of applying next year, if you are interested in architecture, we do require a portfolio for that 5-year program, and it'll be reviewed by the faculty. That score will then be factored into your admissions decision, which we will see on our side. Although I'd love to be an architect, I'm just not. So, we have the faculty and the deans reviewing all of the portfolios that come in because they're really the experts on that. We have immersive spaces all throughout campus. It would be impossible to put them on every single slide here, but just like to list a few here for you. We have CACE. It's an architectural think tank located in Brooklyn, New York. It's a center for architecture, science, and ecology. Their undergraduate students work with graduate students, and they're able to work on next generation building materials, kind of taking everything you've learned in the classroom, getting your hands dirty, and really working with people in the field who might be a little older than you, who might offer a different perspective. Study abroad is incorporated into the architecture program, so you can study abroad in Brooklyn, New York, or you can go to some of our other popular destinations for architecture, including China, Italy, Latin America, Japan. Of course, study abroad had to be halted last year. We are anxiously awaiting, as I kind of mentioned earlier, to see when we can start going abroad again. Personally, I'm not a graduate of Rensselaer. I did study abroad, and I encourage anyone thinking of studying abroad to study abroad because it is absolutely amazing. We do have study abroad for almost every single major here at Rensselaer. It's not just for architecture, but about 75% of our architecture students do study abroad. Next up is our School of Engineering. We have 11 different majors within the School of Engineering. I actually didn't really even know that there were 11 different kinds of engineering before I started this job. But if you are interested in engineering and you know exactly what you'd like, say, hey, I've known I wanted to be a nuclear engineer since I was 3. We have that for you here. If you say, I love engineering, I just don't know what kind, I really love it, but I really need to explore more, that's why you're coming to college. And so we do have the option to apply as undecided into our School of Engineering. You can apply undecided to all of our 5 schools, but this is just a very popular option. As we are known for engineering, we're actually in the top 10 schools for engineering almost every single year. So you're definitely in the right place if you're thinking of majoring in one of these majors that you see here. Freshman year, you'll be able to take 1-credit courses here on campus that lets you explore the different kinds of engineering. They're led by our Dean, Kurt Anderson. He brings in professionals from all across the spectrum here, and you really get to learn about the industry, the job prospects, and you get a little bit of networking too. So that introductory, it's called ENGR 1700, and that program is really great for freshmen as you assimilate to school here at Rensselaer. The immersive spaces for engineering are obviously too many to put on one slide. We actually have our our aeronautical wind testing inlets over here on the left, as you see there, and our manufacturing and learning lab on the right. You can also see our advising folks right here in the middle. Every one of our schools at Rensselaer has an academic advising hub that really works with students planning your academics, making sure you're going to graduate on time, and those are just some of the people in that office. They're ready and willing to help you. You'll find that the support on campus is unmatched. Every single step of the way, you have someone who you can turn to, whether it's for academics or student life, as we'll talk about a little bit later. Next up is our School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences, otherwise known as Haas, and this is our probably most diverse school here at Rensselaer. It is humanities with a technical twist. So it is home to all of the majors that you see here. We have a great game design program. Some of our other popular majors are psychological science, philosophy. You can see we actually have a new major, biotechnology and health economics, which really goes into the medical fields and applying biology and looking at trends due to the ever-changing nature of the world. We are constantly looking for new majors and new areas that where people need jobs. So our faculty and staff really did a good job with that new major this year. You'll see some of the job prospects here, some of the employers where our Haas students are going. So they are really in anything and everything that you can imagine. So some of them are coming out of here being a product designer, game designers, storyboard writers for everything, related to VR. We have a virtual reality lab that you see up here on the slide. We have an AI lab. So there are so many different options for you if you're interested in the humanities, but also how technology influences the humanities. Our humanities is definitely under that umbrella. It's not a humanities that you'd see at, say, a liberal arts school. So at Rensselaer, humanities is definitely done with a technical twist. All schools, so any student on campus will take 4 to 5 classes in Haas as part of your curriculum. So even if you're majoring in engineering or science, you can easily find a major or minor here that complements your degree if you're thinking of doing a dual degree or just picking up a minor. So a lot of students at Rensselaer will have those primary interests. That's obviously your major, but then those secondary and even tertiary interests definitely shouldn't go unexplored here in college. So we really encourage you to explore all of your interests and passions. And we find a lot of students, in engineering, but they love music and they study music technology and they have that minor. So there are a lot of options for you. And I encourage you to definitely explore more if you're just learning about us, because there's so much more to us than science and engineering. Brings me to my next point. So the Lally School of Management is our business school. It is AACSB accredited, which is awarded to less than 5% of business schools here in the US. So we're really proud of that. Again, it's one of our smaller schools. You can major in the business and management Bachelor of Science or a BS in business analytics. So business and management is that more typical route. If you want your BS in business, you can actually concentrate in any of the concentrations you see here on the slide. And we actually added business analytics just a few years ago to work with big data sets. So business analytics really incorporates looking at big data. If you think about Google and all those big name companies, how many points of data do they have on me? Do they have on you? What do you do with that data to adequately, make your business better and help people and be more efficient? The business analytics major really dives into that a bit more. Students who really excel in math, econ, really want to see those trends. It's a really good Bachelor of Science to get into and to explore. We actually just added a sports management minor as well, which is not on this slide, but that is new as of this year, and we're really excited about that. We did see some demand for it, and we've been talking about it for a while, so that sports management minor is brand new. Immersive experiences here at the Lally School of Management. We have a business incubator actually right on campus. It's called our Cerverino Center. This center is awesome, and it's not just for business students. As you see, we have labs and immersive spaces incorporated throughout campus, and they're open to everyone. So it is related to business, but you could be an engineer, have an idea, and use the Cerverino Center to have it come to fruition. So the Cerverino Center has a staff of 3. If you have an idea, if you have a product that you've even developed, they're there to help you take it to the next level. So there will be networking opportunities, mini Shark Tank competitions, all kinds of opportunities for you to have your idea come through. The boy that you see there, kind of on the lower left, his name is Timothy O, and he actually developed a gun safety stop for guns. After many different designs and working with the Severino Center, he was actually to get investors actually invest in his design. So if you are a fan of Shark Tank, this is exactly what that is, just on a smaller scale. A lot of our students come out of here either published with their designs or just have a really good idea of where they would like things to go. Another quick anecdote for you, we had two environmental engineering students come out of RPI making their own company called Ecovative Design. These students found mushrooms growing under their bed, and that is not a joke. First of all, you'd say ew, but they looked at these mushrooms and realized that they could harness a material on them called mycelium, and the mycelium actually stops growing at a certain point. And they took that and made a packaging material out of it. So if you compare mushrooms to plastic, which one do you think biodegrades faster? It's definitely the mushrooms. So they were able to harness that and make packaging material that was picked up by IKEA in a really big contract, and they're working on so many other ideas over there as well. Their office is right actually in East Greenbush, which is about 5 minutes from campus here. So a great success story. I know that they worked with the Severino Center for their designs. And moral of the story is, if you see mushrooms growing under your bed, there could be a business opportunity for you. Don't discount anything, because it could be your next big break. Our students are hired at some of the top companies. If you're looking to get into finance, they're going into all of those different sectors as well. There are stats on our career website that show all of our students, where they're going, what their majors were, and how much they're making and what companies are hiring them. That's actually through the CCPD, which is our career center here on campus. So if you just Google CCPD RPI, they actually have the hiring statistics link right on the bottom right-hand side of their website, because it's important to know, where am I going to go after Rensselaer? We also have accelerated programs for business. So if you're majoring in engineering or science, you can go for your BS and MBA. That would be done in 5 to 5.5 years. And we also have a BSJD program, which is in conjunction with Albany Law School. You'll spend 3 years on RPI's campus and then 3 years in law school, and then you'll have your BSJD in 6 years. Now, both of these programs do not require application for you right now. It would be, later as an upperclassman here at Rensselaer. So you do have some time to think about that if you like the value add. I always love getting good value for my money. So next up is the School of Science. School of Science is home to about 30% of our undergraduate students, majoring in all the majors you see here: applied physics, geology, hydrogeology. We have two types of students in the School of Science. Some are really into research. So research is actually available for all students at Rensselaer. You can start as early as your second semester freshman year. So you don't have to be an upperclassman. You don't have to go jump through a lot of hoops to get into research. A lot of times those connections are made organically. So students are, talking to the professors, they're looking online. Say you walk by a lab that you think is interesting. You can say, hey, what are you doing in there? Can I join? So sometimes it's just as easy as that, just kind of putting your foot forward, saying you're interested in a project, and you're on. A lot of students will be published in research by the time they graduate as well. But getting back to the School of Science, the other students are probably majoring in biology or chemistry to further possibly go into medical school later on. So you don't have to actually major in the School of Science to take advantage of our pre-medical options here on campus. So we do have a pre-medical advising office, and they can help you prep for medical school. So you'd have 4 years here at Rensselaer, and then they'd help you move on to your choice medical school. We see about 80% of students getting into their first choice medical school as well, and the team is awesome. Jack Hanna is the leader, of that pre-med program, and he's really great to work with, an approachable guy who really knows his stuff. In addition to that, we do offer a 7-year BSMD with Albany Medical College as well. So it's our physician scientist program, very, very popular and our most competitive. This is only open for, freshman entry. So unfortunately, transfer students cannot transfer into the 7-year program due to its rigor. But you will spend 3 years here at Rensselaer getting an accelerated biology degree, and then you'll spend 4 years getting your MD at Albany Medical Center. Each year we see over 600 applications for just about 20 seats into this program. The 7-year accelerated programs you'll see at other schools as well. They're very, very popular because they shave off a year of education. So that deadline is always early for us. It's November 1st. If you're thinking about this major, start thinking about it now. It always creeps up on everyone. And there's really a heavy emphasis on research with that program as well. Immersive spaces for the School of Science. Of course, we couldn't put them all on one slide, but we do have the RPI Tech Park, which is a few miles from campus, that houses one of our largest supercomputers. His name is Amos, and we actually had researchers tap into Amos's power for COVID last year. I believe they're still using our supercomputer, but it's actually the fourth largest supercomputer housed at a private university. Pretty impressive. We also have an observatory on campus that's on my to-do list to get there as soon as we can kind of get back more normalcy here on campus. But our physics students like to go there and study the stars, and that sounds really good to me right about now as it starts to get warm outside. We also have the Darn Freshwater Institute, which is a project we're working on up at Lake George. Lake George is 45 minutes away, but here students are studying the effects of humans on Lake George. They're also studying how it is so clean. It's one of the cleanest lakes here, kind of in the Northeast as a whole. Students study the salt runoff, they study invasive species, and we're looking to expand that research to the Finger Lakes of New York as well. And this slide is just about research. I want to reiterate just a few, some of our signature research areas here for you. The other day, I was actually kind of on a rabbit hole getting down to PhD research for nuclear engineering. So you can definitely Google us, definitely see what our students are up to. Some of the words I can't even pronounce. If you're passionate about it, our students are really into research, and it's really a great way to get involved here at Rensselaer and network, present your research, and go to conferences, get that experience so you can be well equipped to move on when you're ready to graduate Rensselaer. So I would like to take a minute to talk about the ARCH program. It is a program that we have incorporated into our academic calendar. So if you haven't heard of the ARCH, you might have to kind of read it a few times to understand, because say, hey, you're taking away one of my summers. No, we're not. So after sophomore year, you'll actually spend the summer here taking the first half of junior year courses, because we are setting you up to have space in your curriculum to participate in an internship or a co-op your junior year. So sophomore year, you'll come fall, you'll come spring, and then this summer, you'll actually spend as the only class on campus taking courses in kind of 2 mini semesters. And students really have gotten a lot of great feedback. We've received feedback from students that this is an amazing experience for them. You're here in the capital region, you're rising juniors, you're halfway done your school, you kind of know what you're doing, you have that confidence, and you can really dive into some things that you might not be able to have done in the other semesters. So we oftentimes hear students are, for that summer, they can be a TA, or they take trips, they take more weekend trips, and you experience summer here, which is absolutely amazing. So after that sophomore summer, one of your junior semesters will be spent away. So it's completely out of the classroom. It's up to you as to what that experience entails. So our Career Center will really help you prep for this. You'll have mandatory meetings with them. Mandatory, yes, because we want to make sure you have an experience. But they will help you find a co-op or internship. Some students are participating in full-time research. Some students built a tiny home. So this is all up to you. It will have to be approved by them just to make sure, you're not, just not doing anything and wasting that time. But this is really prepping you to build your resume, get an experience under your belt before you even graduate. So this little graph here kind of spells that out. But that semester away, the students this past semester, a lot of them went virtual. They were really lucky enough, and they worked with their employers to go virtual. But you really are treated as a full-time employee when you're there for more than a summer in that internship. You're really given more responsibility, and you have really robust experience by the time you're done that internship or co-op. About 75 to 80% of students do a co-op or internship. You can also study abroad during this time. So there are a lot of options for you. As you think about your 4 years in college, just remember we do have this program, and it is here to help you, and we've gotten awesome feedback on it. If you love your internship, that's awesome. Sometimes students come back and say, hey, I realized I didn't really love what I was doing over here. So then you can pivot and really change your focus, and you already kind of know what you don't like to do, which is also how you get to what you love to do. So really a lot to think about here, and I really encourage you to look into this more as you think about your 4 years, hopefully spending at Rensselaer. So just a few, oops, sorry about that. Don't know what happened. Let me just get this back up for you. So a few of our top graduate and professionate schools are here on the slide, as well as our full-time employers. Again, our CCPD compiles all the information from recent graduates. What they do is send a survey to our graduates, say, hey, where are you working? How much are you making? Who are you working for? So within 6 months, we typically have a really good sample set to show you. And this is just some of the top employers from our graduates. So that's it for academics. Let's get into student life. So just like academics, there is layered support here for student life. So first of all, the assimilation that transition from high school to college is definitely a difficult one. And we're here to help you make this place feel like home, because you're going to be here for 4 years. We want to make sure that it feels like home and that you're doing things that you like to do, both inside and outside of the classroom. So our student union runs about an $8 million budget with a couple of staff members and a lot of students. So I always find that impressive that our students are given the authority to help budget our clubs and activities. We have over 200 clubs and activities on campus, ranging social, academic. We have Greek life, which is about 25% of students on campus, multicultural groups, spiritual groups, anything that you're doing at home, I'm sure we have here. And if we don't have it, you can actually make your own major, as I'm sure you hear a lot of other schools saying. We are a D3 varsity athletics school. We actually have D1 hockey, men's and women's here on campus. So really exciting. I was lucky enough to squeeze in 2 hockey games last February, right before everything shut down. You can see the pep band here, and I love that picture just because you can see the students kind of coming together, having fun. Our pep band, you actually don't really practice that much. You just kind of, you get your music, you show up and play. So varying levels of commitment throughout sports and activities here. If you are thinking of coming to Rensselaer as a varsity athlete, feel free to reach out to our coaches. All of their information is online. It's never too early to start that conversation. We also have intramural and club sports on campus. So if you're not a varsity athlete, I definitely wasn't, you can find something else to get involved with. Me personally, I actually picked up ultimate frisbee, and I went to school in Boston. It was the best decision ever. I met so many people. I was kind of bad at it, but it was fun because I met a lot of great people. So I really encourage you to maybe start doing something for the first time, step out of your comfort zone a little bit, say hi to that person who's quiet, because really it can only be positives when you kind of put yourself out there like that. We also have a great counseling center on campus for mental wellness. We have a great set of doctors, counselors for our student health office. They're really awesome people. And due to our medium size, you really get a lot of attention here at Rensselaer. We also have a class dean system where a dean will be watching out for your class. They're kind of that go-to person that you'll be able to contact for anything, and they have all the resources for you and who to contact for what. So the class dean will actually stay with your class for sophomore, junior, and senior year. The first year on campus, you'll be with our first year experience office. So all of our offices are really set up to ensure your success. Now pivoting a little bit, so I know we have just about 15 minutes, and I wanted to really talk about the application process. We just finished up the process for all of you seniors out there. So if you were admitted, congratulations. This might be a little bit old for you by now, but year to year, we do accept 3 different kinds of applications: the Common App, Coalition App, and the Candidate's Choice. What is the Candidate's Choice? I've never heard that before. Well, it's our own application. So we do send our own application to students who have interacted with us in the past. We only need one. So long story short, pick one that really helps you. A lot of our Naviance schools, we see students using Common App. If you use Naviance at your school and you want to make your guidance counselor happy, use the Common App, but we do take all of those 3. So just submit one, and we don't weigh one more heavily over any other. These deadlines, of course, just passed, so I just keep them on here because they are representative of how our deadlines occur each year. We do have 2 rounds of early decision. Those are binding. One early action, which we are keeping. We're actually pretty new with early action this year. I'm very excited to say we will be keeping early action next year. So that is non-binding. You'll apply by the beginning of December, and then this year we let students know on January 30th of their admissions outcome. We also have typically regular decision is mid-January, and then the BSMD program, that special 7-year program, has that November 1st deadline as well. So just to give you a little bit of, what if you're planning your fall and you're planning all of your schools out, this is kind of what Rensselaer is like. We'll definitely update our deadlines on our website, and we actually tell you when we'll notify you every single year. So all of our regular decision notifications went out already. It was March 6th. We like to be a little bit early, give you information so you're not left wondering. And we do it all with our application portal as well. So it's really easy for you to check your decision electronically. If you're waiting on other schools right now, if you're a senior and waiting on other schools, that I feel bad for you. That happened to me too, but we like to get it done early because we don't want any surprises, and we like to be efficient. Now, what are we looking for in your application? Well, it is a very holistic application review. When I say that, I really mean it. So we weigh each and every piece of the application equally. The transcript, first and foremost, is what we're looking at. We're taking a look and seeing primarily math and science because we're a STEM school. So we're looking for 3 years of science, biochem, and a lab-based physics, as well as 4 years of math up through pre-calculus. We do mention pre-calculus because our campus actually starts at Calc 1. So we really need students to have that pre-calculus experience by the time they get to us here. We're looking for students to excel and challenge themselves in their courses. So we definitely know if you're taking the easier courses and getting all A's, we know you're smarter than that. So feel free to take some of those upper level honors and AP courses. It looks really good for us. We know you're challenging yourself, but don't overwhelm yourself and start to get C's and D's, because that's just a snowball effect. We really like to see A's and B's. Typically our top tier applicants will have an A to A minus GPA. We actually don't have a numerical GPA. It's just kind of letter grades. We say that because we don't recalculate GPA. We use your school's measure of your grading system. So all of us here at admissions, there are about 13 of us here, and we handle territories, actually handle Connecticut and Southern California. So what we do is we get the school profile. So we're aware of all of the curriculum that's offered. If we have questions, we reach out to your guidance office to make sure we're understanding your curriculum. So we really like to see those, AP Physics, AP Calc, AB and BC. Those are really great for us. So I really encourage you to talk to your guidance counselor, plan out your courses and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward for all of the schools that you're applying to, not just us. We do accept AP and IB credits. AP is mostly 5s on those tests. If I was in the room with you, I would hear some gasps, but it's mostly 5s. And then the IB for equivalence is typically a 6 or 7 on the higher levels. And we do list those out on our website as well if you're wondering about a specific course. We are test optional for the upcoming year as well. So last year, due to COVID, you probably heard a lot of schools went test optional. We are no exception. So we just were informed that we are able to go test optional for next year as well. With the COVID and availability of testing and tests getting canceled, I heard some crazy stories from people saying they drove 6 hours to take the SAT. We don't want to put you and your family in that situation because some students don't have the ability to travel 6 hours. So anyway, test optional. If you have your scores and you like them and they're indicative of your performance, feel free to send them in. If you don't have scores, if you weren't able to take the test, if your scores were a little lower and you don't think they're indicative of your performance, you don't have to send them in. If you have any questions at all, you can always contact our admissions office as well. Continuing what we're looking for, so just as important as inside the classroom, we are very interested to know what you're doing outside of the classroom as well. So extracurricular activities and leadership is just as important, and we'd love to see that. So on the Common App, if you haven't seen it, you probably have, if you're juniors, you haven't seen the Common App yet, but they will give you an opportunity to spell out in depth what you're doing, how many hours you say you might be on the fencing team or cross-country captain, or you're on the swim team, or you're leading a TA session for your physics professor. So all of those things really count, and we love to see what you're doing outside of that as well. We know that you're making a difference in your community, and we'd love to see you make a difference here in our community as well. So word of advice, tips and tricks, make sure you fill those out specifically and fully to just put your best foot forward. The recommendation letter is required as well. We actually only need one. We typically see a guidance counselor recommendation, possibly a few teachers. For us here at Rensselaer, we do recommend a math or science teacher from your core curriculum to write one for you. It's just a great perspective. It can be from anyone though. That's not a tried and true rule. So it's just kind of a great perspective that we like to see. The essay and personal statement is very important as well. Love to see your writing sample. It's more about how you write it than what you write about. So we typically see a lot of essays about Legos, things like that, and being inspired to be an engineer, and that is awesome. We love that. But if you want to write about baking cupcakes on Sunday, you can also write about that. So that really is diving into a part of you that we might not see in the other parts of the application. So feel free to put your creative thinking cap on. We've really seen some creative essays come through here. I read a poem this year. One of my favorite essays was actually about a tarantula as well as nachos. So just a few topics to get you started thinking about that. As I mentioned, we do have portfolios required for our architecture program. We also require a portfolio for music, and optional portfolios can be submitted for our game design program as well as electronic arts. Games and Simulation Arts and Sciences is game design. We just shortened it. So we call it GSAS. So that's another cool acronym that you'll say if you're a Rensselaer student. A quick slide about financial aid. So we do offer financial aid. 100% of domestic students will receive some type of aid. We don't meet the full need of aid. However, it's really important that you kind of start talking to your parents or guardians about this now if you're looking to apply for need-based aid. So two types of aid. The need-based side requires the CSS profile and the FAFSA. Those in conjunction will allow our financial aid office to make an assessment and check your eligibility for everything from loans to work study to all those good things. So if you do need that, the deadlines typically mirror admissions deadlines. So when you're thinking about your application, just double check the financial aid deadlines as well. Those aren't required for admission though. So if you aren't looking for a need-based package, we will automatically review for merit scholarships and merit money as well. So the merit aid is based solely on your performance in high school, leadership, GPA, class rank, all of that. So as soon as you submit your application to Rensselaer, we'll go ahead and do that merit review, and then the need-based aid will come in after. As you can see, we have close to $200 in aid that was awarded last year. Some people ask, oh, can I only do the FAFSA? I don't want to do the CSS. We actually need both. The reason being the FAFSA will review for for federal eligibility, and then the CSS profile really gives us enough information to award that institutional aid. So that's money that RPI has. So we also have a net price calculator up on our financial aid website. You can just Google RPI net price calculator, and that will give you a good estimate of the potential aid that you could get. So that's something that you could do right now. It does require a little bit of time. It's only as good as the information that you put into it. So spend some time on that if you'd like to get a ballpark range. A lot of schools will have that net price calculator up for you on their website. So it's definitely something really good to start thinking about. All right, so coming up on the end here, I know we've seen some questions kind of coming in and out, and Jen's been doing a great job answering them, but I just want to spend some time on how you can further connect with us. Right now, a lot of things are virtual. I'd say that our Instagram is probably the most popular. I know your phone is around, so feel free to follow us right now. It's admission specific at RPI Admissions. We have students taking over. We have clubs taking over all the time. They'll tell you about their experiences. You'll be able to ask Q&A. So typically those stories are really where students connect with us, and you can just chat with real students in the story throughout the day. We had the women's mentoring program. We had the rocketry club. I actually was authorized to do a takeover back in October. So they do staff members as well. We're really open and honest here. We're a collaborative school. We're that medium size, that sweet spot. So walking down the street, you might see someone you know, you might see someone you don't know, but we really like to showcase kind of behind the scenes because our website can only show so much. We are also on Twitter, Facebook, and Raise Me, which is a micro scholarship website. Please feel free to follow the link and kind of start doing some of those right now. We're also on YouTube. We have recorded virtually all of our presentations. We have an information session that's our full hour-long info session. A lot of the same information here is on there, but we also recorded our admitted students events, academic panels. We did an engineering series last summer. So our YouTube is chock full of amazing things, amazing information that you can find. On a rainy day, feel free to do it. Sometimes our architecture dean gets really passionate, and I think some of those are about 90 minutes long or something like that, but please feel free to connect with us in that way because we just want to show you how awesome it is here at Rensselaer. Now, I don't know if any other questions are coming in, but I just want to see. Um, Okay, so you're asking about, we have a question here about computer science. Computer science is one of our largest majors, and I forgot to mention it's in the School of Science. So we house computer science within the School of Science. However, it is our largest major. Some schools put it with the School of Engineering, but we have it here with our School of Science. So great question there. I'm trying to just see some other questions. Maybe I can yep, average class size, we answered that. But I just wanted to talk about a little bit more about collaboration on campus and our faculty. We have a 12-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So of course that doesn't mean that there'll be 12 students in all of your classes. With COVID, it's kind of changed the scene a little bit, but for every 12 students, we have one faculty member who are able to, give you their attention. I know that they're required to hold office hours. All of our faculty hold their PhD, so you're really learning from the best. Your freshman year classes might be a little bit larger. You're taking calculus, chemistry, physics, and sometimes other sciences that are kind of larger, a great foundation for a lot of students here at Rensselaer. So before COVID, those lectures probably were about 100 to 120 students. And then after one of those larger lectures, you'll have a smaller resuscitation period, which is about 20 students where you review material from the lecture that week. So the lecture will be led by your faculty member, and then the resuscitation periods oftentimes have TAs leading those because they are TAs and they're the teaching assistants. So we never have a TA that's fully responsible for delivering a class here at Rensselaer. The opportunity to connect with your professors, they have office hours. I know that's totally virtual. I don't know if they're doing in person right now, but our professors are really accessible. I know that someone in our business school, I don't know if it was Chris Meyer, he actually left, but they were giving out their cell phone numbers just for students before a really crazy exam that they were all worried about. So again, the connections that you make here are really organic. It's a really collaborative environment. It's not too competitive here. Every student really wants to help each other. I love walking around the student union and just seeing all the students working together. In terms of campus life right now, all students are required to wear masks. They're going to perhaps 1 to 2 classes in person and then taking other classes virtually as well. Some of our students actually walk you through their day on Instagram, and I love seeing that. Some of them show breakfast. Some of them, just really show you all the details. So you can really see what a typical day for an RPI student is. We save some of our stories as well. So again, if you're really looking for that and looking to see the student experience, that's another great way to check behind the scenes. Dining is awesome here on campus. We have a brand new dining facility called the Commons, and it's right in the middle of Freshman Hill, which is about 8 or 9 freshman dorms. Awesome that they put the brand new dining hall right there. We were actually given the opportunity to eat there 2 years ago when it was brand new. I think the paint was still drying in there. All kinds of accommodations for gluten-free, peanut-free, everything you can imagine. We actually have our own dietitian on campus. You'll see a lot of schools have that, Kim. But again, we're that medium size. When you call or email, you're going to get a response. You're not going to be lost in the shuffle here at Rensselaer. So we're really excited just to have so many offerings to show you, what we have. Right now, in terms of visiting campus, we actually have tours open for admitted students only in a hybrid model. It's mostly outside, but please keep checking your email, check our website throughout the summer. We are taking things, 1 to 2 months at a time in terms of COVID and just the progression of COVID. Again, Dr. Jackson is kind of at the forefront of everything, making decisions on our behalf. I actually got a COVID test today, so our students are being tested twice a week, and staff members have a more intermittent schedule based on our work from home and work from office. But all of our students are getting tested twice. We do have a COVID dashboard up, so we've conducted, I believe last fall it was close to 90,000 COVID tests, and we had just a handful of positives. So we do really take it seriously, and we're hoping that fall, we are expecting, a full class on campus here on the fall. But our president just had a forum, and she's planning on doing everything, but doing it smartly, doing it hybrid. So you're not going into every single building on the tour, you're going into just a few. But if you have questions, feel free to contact us. Our admissions email is admissions@rpi.edu. If you don't know where to start, Send us questions. We love to hear from you. My name is Lauren, and Jen here. We're also up on our website. Find your territory, connect with us. We're always happy to hear from you. And we are here as your resources and guide for all things Rensselaer. If you have, general college question, we're here to answer that too, because we've been through it and we have some experience. So we really can't wait to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we're just coming up a minute shy, so I'm going to pass it over back to Christopher. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you very much, Lauren and Jennifer, for your great presentation on Rensselaer from the Q&A blowing up in the last few minutes. It looks like the attendees enjoyed it as well. Before we wrap up this session, we do want to, of course, thank all of our attendees for joining us this evening and being such active participants. Thank you very much. When we do close this window, you will receive a very quick 4-question survey that we ask that you take a minute to complete. And again, there are additional sessions tomorrow, so please do feel free to sign up for those if you haven't already done so. About 1 week from today, a recording of the session will be available on that same registration website. But again, thank you to everyone. And best of all, good luck in your college search. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Goodbye.